Yo, what's good, Habibi? Ashraf here, diving into the Mariana Trench, deepest place on Earth. Oh, no.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you all doing? I'm Ashraf Ibrahim. Welcome to a new episode with us today. God willing, we're going to talk about a really strange and exciting topic, the deepest point in the ocean, or as it's called, the Mariana Trench. If you look around and think about the most mysterious place on Earth, the oceans might be the first thing that comes to mind. Why? Because the ocean is full of secrets, and the Mariana Trench is like a hidden treasure under the water, a place with no light, no life as we know it, but packed with mystery and thrill. Today, we're diving into this topic together, and we'll try to understand what's happening under the water at the deepest point on our planet. Let's go! But before we start, if this is your first time seeing me, please subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell so you get notified about everything new. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below in the comments and we'll reply right away. Okay, let's jump in. What is the Mariana Trench anyway? To understand this from the beginning, we need to know what the Mariana Trench is and how we got to it. Simply put, the Mariana Trench is the deepest known point in the world's oceans, located in the western Pacific Ocean, near the Mariana Islands. That's why it's named that way. It's a long, very deep opening in the ocean floor, shaped like a huge valley under the water. Imagine it's about 2,550 kilometers long and around 69 kilometers wide, but its depth is what shocks people. The deepest part, called Challenger Deep, reaches about 11,000 meters below sea level. That means if you took the tallest mountain in the world, Mount Everest, and put it in the trench, there would still be water above it for a long distance. The pressure down there, folks, is no joke. They say it reaches 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure we live with on land. So if you put a car at that depth, it would crush like a soda can in a second. And it's not just that. The place is completely dark, with no ray of light, and the temperature is close to freezing. A place like this shouldn't support life, but as we'll see later, there are lots of surprises waiting for us. Why is the Mariana Trench so important? If you're wondering why people are so interested in a place like this, the answer is simple. It's like the last frontier on Earth. As humans, we've reached the moon and sent spacecraft to Mars, but we still don't know everything about our own oceans. The Mariana Trench is like a big puzzle that scientists are trying to solve. It's not just deep, it tells a geological story about our planet and shows how life can adapt in the toughest conditions. The trench formed because of colliding tectonic plates, the layers that make up Earth's crust. In this area, the Pacific plate is moving under the Philippine plate, which caused the Earth to split open and create this deep trench. So, it's like a natural museum that tells about millions of years of Earth's history.
How did we learn about the Mariana Trench? The story of discovering the Mariana Trench started a long time ago, in 1875 to be exact. Back then, a British ship called HMS Challenger decided to explore the oceans. They used a rope and a weight, a really basic method, and measured a depth of about 8,184 meters. Of course, that number wasn't very accurate because technology was limited back then. Then, in 1951, another ship called HMS Challenger II used sonar devices and found it was much deeper, around 10,863 meters. From there, people started realizing there was a place in the ocean deeper than anything they imagined. The big breakthrough happened in 1960 when a submersible called Trieste went down to the deepest point in the trench for the first time. On board were two explorers, Jacques Piccard, a Swiss oceanographer, and Don Walsh, a U.S. Navy officer. This trip was a real adventure because the sub was under enormous pressure and any small mistake could have been a disaster. They went down to about 10,916 meters and stayed there for only about 20 minutes. Imagine, 20 minutes under the water in a place like that. When they came back, they described a really strange experience. They said the bottom was full of mud and small, weird creatures, but they didn't have time to discover much. After that, in 2012, the famous director James Cameron, who made the movie Titanic, decided to do something no one had done before. He went down alone in a sub called Deep Sea Challenger and reached the bottom of the trench. The guy spent about 3 hours collecting samples and filming videos. This was the first solo trip to the trench, and Cameron came back with information and pictures that amazed scientists. But even with all that technology, there are still many parts of the trench that no one knows about.
What's living down there? If you think a place like the Mariana Trench has no life, you'll be surprised. Scientists have discovered creatures living in these harsh conditions despite the intense pressure, total darkness, and near-freezing temperatures. There are things like crustaceans, like tiny shrimp, weird, scary-looking fish, and even microbes living inside rocks on the trench floor. These creatures have adapted in amazing ways to this environment. For example, there's a fish called the snailfish that lives down there, with a soft body like jelly to withstand the pressure. And there are amphipods, small crustaceans that can handle conditions no other creature can. The weird part is that scientists found bacteria living on chemicals coming from hydrothermal vents in the ocean floor. These creatures don't need sunlight like normal plants or animals. They rely on the ocean's own chemistry. This makes the Mariana Trench like a natural lab that teaches us how life can adapt anywhere, even like on Mars.
Why is exploration so hard? If you're asking why we don't explore the trench like we explore space, the answer is that the challenges under the water are much tougher. First, the pressure. As we said, it can destroy anything not specially designed for it. Subs that go down there have to be made from super strong materials like titanium, which makes the cost really high. Second, the total darkness. No light at all, so devices have to use artificial lights and advanced cameras. Third, the cost. One trip to the trench can cost millions of dollars, which makes funding hard. And with all that, scientists have only explored a very small part of the trench so far. If you compare it to space, we've photographed the Moon and Mars surfaces, but the ocean floor is still a big mystery. Studies say more than 80% of the ocean floor hasn't been discovered yet. We live on a planet with so many unknown places.
What challenges do scientists face? What makes it even harder is that the measurements themselves aren't always precise. For example, some scientists say Challenger Deep might be deeper than we know, but current technology can't measure it perfectly. Also, there are places in the trench that no one has filmed or visited before. There might be points deeper than Challenger Deep that we don't know about yet. Another problem is that studying the creatures down there is really hard. When they bring these creatures up to the surface, most die because of the huge change in pressure. So if you want to study a fish from that depth, you need special equipment to keep the pressure like it is underwater.
What have we discovered so far? Despite all these challenges, scientists have made amazing achievements. For example, they discovered that the Mariana Trench isn't just a deep place, it's a whole ecosystem full of life. There are hydrothermal vents releasing chemicals that help creatures survive. They also found weird things like tube worms that live on sulfur and creatures like the Dumbo octopus that looks like a cartoon character. In 2019, an American explorer named Victor Vescovo went down in an advanced sub and discovered something really strange: a plastic bag on the ocean floor. Yes, plastic. This shows that pollution has reached even the deepest point in the world. It made people think about human impact on the environment, even in places we think are far from us.
What might we discover in the future? Scientists still have hope to discover new things in the Mariana Trench. With advancing technology, like underwater robots and automated subs, we might reach deeper places and film them more accurately. Also, studies are trying to understand how these creatures live in those conditions, because it could help us learn more about life on other planets, like Mars or Saturn's moons. There's also big interest in studying the trench's geology, because it could give us info about earthquakes and volcanoes in the Pacific Ocean. So the trench isn't just a weird place, it could be a key to understanding our planet better. Tips to protect yourself from the mystery. Of course, we're not going to tell you how to protect yourself from the Mariana Trench, because you're not going down there. However, if you want to be part of this exploration, you can support scientists and research by following science news. Or if you're a student in science, consider studying oceanography. Also, if you're into the environment, try to reduce plastic use so it doesn't reach places like the Mariana Trench. How do governments handle this? Many countries' governments fund ocean research, but the problem is that funding is usually much less than what's given to space exploration. Countries like the US and Japan are making big efforts in studying oceans, but there are still many challenges. In Egypt, for example, we have the Red Sea and Gulf of Suez, but there's not much focus on studying depths like the Mariana Trench. Maybe in the future we'll see more efforts from the Arab world in this field. Conclusion. In the end, the Mariana Trench isn't just the deepest point in the ocean. It's like a gateway to another world full of secrets. From the weird creatures living under intense pressure to the challenges scientists face, this place tells a story about nature's power and how our planet is full of surprises. So far, we've explored only a very small part of the oceans, and the Mariana Trench is still waiting for us to discover more. If you have a question about the topic or want us to discuss something specific about the oceans, leave it in the comments and we'll try to answer in future episodes. See you in the next one, and don't forget, subscribe and turn on the bell. Bye.